Hello everyone, welcome to Aspire Academy. Today we are going to deal with class 12 topic, that is ecosystem. So this is our second lecture on this ecosystem chapter, and the subtopic is energy flow in the ecosystem and ecological pyramid. Okay, so we'll see how the energy flow from one trophic level to the another in the whole ecosystem. Step by step we'll come to the topic. Okay, so energy flow. First of all, we should know from where the energy comes. Okay, so sun is the ultimate source of energy for the whole earth. Okay, sun is the ultimate source, no doubt. But if we come to the deep sea, okay, bottom of the sea, from where they are getting the energy. So at that point in the bottom of the sea, the hydrothermal ecosystem, okay, so there the we can say volcanic eruption or volcano, okay, below the earth crust or below the whole deep ocean that provide the energy. So for earth, if we are talking, so there only sun is the source of energy. Okay, so we know energy flow from one tropic level to the another. The first tropic level is occupied by the producer, green plants. Green plants are the producers. They occupy the first tropic level. So we can mark it as T1, tropic level 1. Okay. Primary consumer, the first consumer, among the consumer, जो सबसे पहला consumer है, they are the grasshoppers. Okay. So they are at the tropic level 2. Second tropic level it should be. Okay. Tropic level second hai, but they are primary consumer, first level of consumer. Now, after that, the third tropic level is occupied by secondary consumers. Okay. And then the fourth tropic level is tertiary consumer. So as we are moving from one tropic level to the another, definitely what happens, the energy, few amount of the energy is being lost. Continuously each step में जितने आप tropic level में ऊपर बढ़ते जाओगे, energy get lost. Okay. So ultimate source क्या है? Sun is the source of the energy. So this study of energy flow, we are studying about the flow of energy in the whole ecosystem. So that energy flow, if we are studying about that, that is known as energetics. Okay. Now, in an ecosystem, we know producers, the green plant. Okay. Producers, the green plant, they fixes the solar energy. Okay. So they fixes the solar energy into chemical energy. Simply what happened? The green plants, they are able to convert solar energy into chemical energy. So here the energy is getting transformed from one form to the another. ठीक है, एक फॉर्म से दूसरे में एनर्जी कन्वर्ट हो रहा है by the producers. But all the radiations, जितने भी सनलाइट का रेडिएशन है, 100% of the solar radiation is not being utilized by the green plants. Okay, only 50% of the total sunlight the plant are able to use it during the photosynthesis. So simply, primary producers are the green plants. We can call them as transducer. ठीक है, green plants, since they are converting the solar energy into chemical energy in the foods, जो कि photosynthesis करने के बाद plant के fruit हो गए and all. So there the energy is stored in the chemical form. That is why they are known as transducer. Energy is being converted from one form to the another. Okay. So this is about the energy flow. Now we'll see about half of the incident solar radiation, that means total sunlight that is coming to the earth, unme se only 50%, okay, is photosynthetically active radiation. That means we can denote it with PAR, PAR. ठीक है, photosynthetically active radiation सिर्फ half है, half of the sunlight. So only 50% of the solar energy is utilized by the green plants and autotrophic bacteria. Green plants are autotrophs and the bacteria, some bacteria, they are autotrophs. Okay, like cyanobacteria. But under optimum condition only. So autotrophic bacteria and the green plants, they can utilize the solar energy only under certain condition. Okay, so we can see 2 to 10% of the solar radiation that is coming is converted to by the process of photosynthesis, ठीक है, तो जितने भी सनलाइट है, सोलर रेडिएशन है, तो 2 to 10% of the solar radiation is converted into what? ठीक है, ग्रॉस प्राइमरी प्रोडक्टिविटी. प्लांट फोटोसिंथेसिस करके, ठीक है, इट इज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग द food, that is the gross, that means total productivity is produced by the plant. Okay, it is for the whole photosynthesis process, only 2 to 10% of the solar radiation is being converted, ठीक है, by the transducer. So plant, what amount of that solar radiation they are using? Only 2 to 10% of the active radiation. Photosynthetically active radiation की अगर बात करें तो उनमें only 2 to 10%. बट सोलर रेडिएशन का, टोटल सोलर रेडिएशन का पार्ट अगर देखोगे, दैट इज 1 to 5% ओनली. टोटल सोलर रेडिएशन का 1 to 5% ही फोटोसिंथेसिस में यूज अप होता है. और फोटोसिंथेटिकली एक्टिव रेडिएशन, इफ वी काउंट दैट, उनमें से सिर्फ 2 to 10% द प्लांट यूजेस. नाउ roughly 20% of the energy that is fixed by the plant during the photosynthesis is lost in the respiration process. Firstly, we have studied about the plant that solar energy is used during the process of photosynthesis, and during the photosynthesis, at that time the plant produces, the productivity is gross primary productivity. If we subtract the total loss during the respiration, energy that is lost during the respiration, so we are getting net primary productivity. ठीक है, after deducting the respiration loss, so that is the net primary productivity we'll get. So roughly 20% of the solar energy is lost during the respiration. ठीक है, तो respiration में loss कितना हो रहा है? 20% of energy is being lost. Okay, and the energy is last में, after all the deduction of the loss, we are getting the net primary productivity. ठीक है, so net primary productivity, they are fixed by the plant. That means plant जब solar energy को convert करता है chemical energy में, so that conversion, that means they are fixing the solar energy. Okay, so after fixation जो energy produce हो रहा है, जो बचा remaining, that is the net primary productivity. So the energy fixed by the plant, since they are the producer, okay, flows through the different biotic component. That means from one trophic level to another, from producers to the different level of the consumer, that energy will be transformed, okay, through the different biotic component of the ecosystem, and the consumer obtain the food from, indirectly we can say, producers, they are providing the whole energy or the food to the consumers. Okay, so we can see प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर हियर, बट ग्रीन प्लांट्स जो है, ग्रीन प्लांट क्या हो गया? फर्स्ट ट्रॉपिक लेवल पे है प्रोड्यूसर्स आर द ग्रीन प्लांट. ठीक है, प्रोड्यूसर्स आर बीन टेकन अप, ठीक है, एज अ फूड बाय द प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर, जिसमें आप बोल सकते हो ग्रास हॉपर हो गया. ठीक है, ग्रास हॉपर, इंसेक्ट्स एंड हार्बीवोर्स. एंड हार्बीवोर्स आर ईटन बाय whom? कार्निवोर्स. ठीक है, कार्निवोर्स दे विल ईट अप हार्बीवोर्स. तो herbivores are the primary consumers. Carnivores we can call it as secondary consumer. Okay, and tertiary consumer is there. So secondary consumer, primary consumer, all are among consumers only. For all the consumers, the green plant are the ultimate source of energy, because here the green plant will provide them the food. Okay, now green plant are getting food, the energy from where? From the sunlight. Okay, so energy is used by the plants. The plant that are using the solar energy, they can be algae, since they are green. Algae bhi ho sakta hai, phytoplanktons. They are very small microscopic plants. Okay, higher plants like gymnosperm, angiosperm, herbs, shrubs, trees. So these are the different varieties of the plant. Okay, they are all using the solar energy, and using the solar energy, they are just transforming the energy to chemical form. Okay, and then it is taken by the consumers. The ultimate source, sun is the source of the energy, but sunlight is being used by the green plants to convert that energy into chemical form. Now we'll see the energy from producers is either passed on to the higher trophic level or become available to detrivores and decomposers after their death. No doubt. ठीक है, क्या होता है? The energy, it passes from one trophic level to the another, and when the organism dies, ठीक है, so ultimately it comes to the soil and it is utilized by the decomposers. So producers को कौन खाता है? Producers, that means the green plants. ठीक है, producers are green plants. They are being used by whom? Herbivores. Yes, simply herbivores are eating the green plants. तो herbivores को अब कौन खाएगा? Herbs खाने वाले organism हैं. ठीक है, कंज्यूमर का अगर आप लेवल देखो तो दिस इज प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर. ये प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर है. हु? herbivores. ठीक है, सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स आर प्राइमरी कार्निवोर्स. कार्निवोर्स के अब लेवल पे आप देखोगे तो प्राइमरी फर्स्ट लेवल वाला कार्निवोर्स जो है दैट इज सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर. एंड सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर, ठीक है, सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स आर द प्राइमरी कार्निवोर्स. एंड सेकेंडरी कार्निवोर्स में भी अगर आप देखो सेकेंडरी लेवल वाले जो कार्निवोर्स होंगे दे आर दी टर्शरी कंज्यूमर. ओके, सो in this way, one organism is being eaten by the another. Producers are being taken by the herbivores. Herbivores will eat the are being eaten by the primary carnivores. Primary carnivores will be eaten by the secondary carnivores. ठीक है, like lion, tiger, and so on. ठीक है. So during the transfer of the energy, lots of energy is being wasted. Okay, and it is being wasted at each trophic level. Now, we'll study about the food chain. What is food chain? It is a sequence of eating and in return being eaten. Okay, that means one organism will eat the another and in return that same organism will be eaten by next one. Okay, so it is a sequence of eating and in return being eaten. We can mark, okay, sequence of eating and in return being eaten. And in return, it is eaten by another one. So, whole food chain, if we'll see the food chain and food web, that is interlinked food chain is known as food web. So, this here we'll see the energy flow is taking place, and जब energy flow होता है, in that duration, we can see two laws of thermodynamics can be seen. Okay, so simply we can say the flow of energy is supported by the two laws of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics, what does it states when we are talking about the ecosystem and ecology? What does the first law of thermodynamics states? It states that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be changed from one form to another. It can be transformed from one form to another. एक form से दूसरे. Like simply solar energy is being converted to chemical energy. Okay, so solar energy convert हो रहा है किसमें? Chemical energy. During the process of photosynthesis. So here energy is being transformed from one form to the another. So here it proves the first law of thermodynamics take place in the ecosystem. Okay, so this applies to the ecosystem where energy flow through the living and the non-living component. Living component are the biotic factor, plants and animal. Non-living में हो गया temperature, sunlight, soil, moisture and all. Now, simply what happened? The light energy, that is the solar energy. Okay, it is being utilized by the green plants. Plants will utilize, change it into the chemical form. Chemical energy में convert होगा. And that chemical energy will again be converted to another level of chemical energy by the herbivores. And again carnivores and all, they will convert the chemical energy into free energy. Okay, so chemical energy आगे free energy में convert हो रहा है by the decomposers. So decomposers makes the energy available free to the environment back to the soil, so that again that from that soil the energy can be utilized by the green plants to continue the whole again the food chain. Okay, now in this way the whole energy flow takes place. So when we are talking about the second law of thermodynamic in this whole ecosystem, okay, so simply we know the living system, this whole flow of energy in the living system, it is their randomness increase. Why the randomness increase? To overcome the constant input of the energy. So there is a constant input of energy, for that the continuous randomness increases. Second law of thermodynamic, what does it states in this ecosystem chapter? So it states that there is loss of energy at each tropic level. Okay, at each steps of energy flow in the whole food chain, when the energy flow from one form to the another at the different tropic level, so there is loss of energy at each level. So this law stands true in ecology. Why? Because it states that there is progressive decrease in the energy at each tropic level. So no doubt it is too correct. Okay, decrease in the energy at each tropic level. So this is the second law of thermodynamic, which is supported by which is supporting the food chain. Now about tropic level, we know producers tropic level, first we have first tropic level hai, then there is herbivores at the second tropic level, and so on. So tropic level is the division. What is tropic level? It is a division of the food chain which is characterized by the method of obtaining food. Okay, from where they are getting food. Grasses producers hai, first tropic level. Mouse, rat, they are the primary consumer. Even herbivores also, they are the primary consumer. Then secondary consumers can be snake. Okay, then hawk, tertiary consumer. So tropic level first, second, in this way we are moving on. Okay, so the number of the tropic level, jitna tropic level hoga, okay, it is equal to the number of steps in the food chain. So this here, these are the different tropic level, and it is showing the food chain. That means which organism is eaten by whom, sequence of eating, and in return being eaten. ठीक है, grasses are eaten by mouse, but mouse को अब कौन खा रहा है? Snake. Snake is again eaten by hawk. So this is the food chain, and here the food chain we can see tropic level का number equal होगा steps in the food chain से. The two fundamental tropic level is, इस tropic level में जो सबसे two important है, they are the producers, green plant, and all are consumer. Rest all consumer. Rest all are consumers. So we can simply say the fundamental tropic level में दो part जो होते हैं, producers, consumer. इनके बिना ये जो tropic level we cannot assume. Okay. So the producers are placed at the first. Producers पहले number पे रहेंगे because they are utilizing the solar energy. So producers, they are autotrophs. They are autotrophs because they are preparing the food. लेकिन consumers, they are heterotrophs because they cannot prepare their food. And directly or indirectly, they are dependent on these autotrophs for their food. That means consumer depends on autotrophs. Okay? So consumer are heterotrophs. So they shows heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay. Now, depending upon the mode of obtaining the nutrition or nourishment, consumers को भी हम लोग differentiate कर सकते हैं. किस mode से वो nutrition gain कर रहा है? जो herbs खाते हैं, they are herbivores. ठीक है? Herbs, if they are eating plants खा रहे हैं तो herbivores. Carnivores, that means flesh. Decomposers feeds on detrivores. That means dead and decaying matters. Okay. So the herbivores are firstly producers है first tropic level पे. ठीक है? तो herbivores कहाँ पे हो गया? Second tropic level. Second tropic level as they feed upon the producers. So first of all there are producers. green plants, and then they are eaten by herbivores. Herbivores are eaten by whom? They are eaten by carnivores, or simply here herbivores क्या है? Second trophic level पे है, and they are eaten by they are eating producers or the green plant. So here we can say second trophic level. थर्ड ट्रॉपिक लेवल में हार्बीवोर्स को भी खाने के लिए आप बोल सकते हो हु आर देयर सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर. हार्बीवोर्स दे आर प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर. ये प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर है. सो हियर कम्स सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर. ठीक है. सो एनिमल फीड अपन द एनिमल्स which in return eat up the whole plant. So these are secondary consumer. Secondary and tertiary consumer are placed at secondary consumer, थर्ड और आगे आ गया टर्शरी कंज्यूमर भी है. दे आर प्लेस्ड एट फोर्थ ट्रॉपिक लेवल एज दे ऑब्टेन द फूड फ्रॉम द लोअर. मतलब इन्हें फूड कहाँ से मिल रहा है? फ्रॉम देम. ओके. इनडायरेक्टली द फूड इज वन ऑर्गेनिज्म इज द फूड फॉर द अनदर वन. ट्रॉपिक लेवल में जितना आप आगे बढ़ोगे द एनर्जी गेट लॉस्ट. ओके. सो देयर इज कंटिन्यूअस लॉस ऑफ एनर्जी. सो व्हाट इज फूड चेन? वी हैव सीन जस्ट a food chain is defined as a group of organism. Group है organism का that is linked. How? Due to the transfer of the food energy. किस तरह से food transfer हो रहा है? ठीक है. Through the series of repeated process of eating and in return being eaten. Trees, green plant है, photosynthesis कर रहे हैं. They are eaten by herbivores, which is deer. Herbivores are eaten by carnivores. So the energy flow from producers get transformed to consumer. जो producer से energy आ रहा है, it is being transferred to the consumer. And after death, मतलब that means lion when they will die, after their death, back to the decomposers. यही energy अब किसको मिलेगा? It will be back to decomposers. Okay. Now the energy is transformed and decomposers से अब who will take? Soil. सॉइल से अगेन प्लांट विल बी ग्रोन. सॉइल में जितनी न्यूट्रिशन आ गए अगेन उससे प्लांट फिर ग्रो कर सकता है. सो द एनर्जी इज ट्रांसफॉर्म टू द डिकम्पोजर्स विद द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द डिट्रेटस फूड चेन एंड फूड वेब. सो इन दिस वे देयर इज अ चेन सीक्वेंस ऑफ द ट्रांसफर ऑफ एनर्जी, फूड एनर्जी. नाउ देयर आर द टू टाइप ऑफ फूड चेन. सिंपली फूड चेन को भी आप टू पार्ट में डिवाइड कर सकते हो, ग्रेजिंग एंड detritus food chain. Okay, grazing food chain and detritus. Okay, so food chain simply it starts from plant. ठीक है. फूड जितना भी आप फूड चेन को आप देखोगे either it be grassland, okay, grazing या detritus food chain, starting जो इनका होता है प्लांट से ही होगा. Yes, but the thing is different. जितने भी grazing food chain green plant से start होंगे. ठीक है. And detrivores food chain they will either start with dead leaves or dead animals. Okay, so starts with plant, starts from the dead matter also. Dead matter कहाँ पे? जब detritus food chain के बारे बात करोगे then it will start with dead material and it will start from plants when it is grazing food chain. Now direction of flow is always unidirectional. Flow of energy जो होगा unidirection. ठीक है. एक ही डायरेक्शन में it will not be from both sides. That means flower we can take it as plant. So plant say flies, ठीक है, then flies to frog. In this way, primary this is primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, quaternary consumer. In this way, all are the consumer except this. The plants they are producers. Okay, and here in detrivorous food chain, dead leaves are eaten by whom? Wood loose, ठीक है, and then it is eaten by the blackbird or something, any of the other birds. So in this way, direction of flow is, we can see the arrow is only moving in one direction. So it is unidirectional. The number of steps in the food chain can be limited. ठीक है, 4 to 5, इससे ज़्यादा तो नहीं. It can be less than 4. 3 simply when we are seeing plants को कौन खा रहे? Herbivores to carnivores. So in that it will be limited to 4 to 5 number of steps in the food chain. Now what is grazing food chain? It begins grazing, green plants से start होगा or simply plants. Okay, it begins with autotrophs. Autotrophs are plants. Autotrophs are plants. In the grazing food chain, energy and the nutrients move from the plants to the herbivores. Plants से herbivores. And herbivores से कहाँ जाएगा? To carnivore. From herbivores to carnivores. And from carnivores to omnivores. Simply preying upon the herbivores. तो one of the organism, जैसे कि herbivores किसके ऊपर prey करेगा? That means herbivores will eat plants. Carnivores will eat herbivores. So in this way. But if we're talking about the aquatic ecosystem, like this, aquatic ecosystem में क्या होता है? Grazing food chain is a major conduit for flow of energy. Now here we can see flowers or simply plants. ठीक है? Plants are eaten by small fish, large fish, or simply phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons are the microscopic plant which are being eaten by the smaller fish, then larger fish, and larger fishes will be eaten by the birds. So in this aquatic ecosystem also, the grazing food chain is maintained. Okay. So here also we can say the grazing food chain. Here simply grasses, they are the producer. It is taken by the grasshopper, which is primary consumer. Grasshoppers are eaten by the birds. They are secondary consumer. Birds are eaten by snake, which are tertiary consumer. Okay. And after that, snake will be eaten by owl, that is apex predator. सबसे ऊपर level पे है. And when they will die, owl, hawk, so they will be taken up by the decomposers. Okay. So in this way, a cycle is being maintained. It's a cyclic process. So the detritus food chain, it begins with the dead organic matter. As we have seen, the grazing food chain begins with the producers, but detritus food chain, it begins with the dead organic matter. Okay. Dead organic matter, the most important thing. Dead material से ही start होता है and constitute heterotrophic organisms. So here, it does not start with the producers. Here, they are dead organic matter. Okay. So it constitutes the heterotrophic organism, that is a decomposers that feeds on this dead organic matter. So the organism, those feeds on this dead organic matter, they are the decomposers. Okay. Or we can call it as detrivores. So this dead and organic matter, these are eaten by the primary detritus feeder. Okay. Then it is eaten by the secondary detritus feeder. In this way, the detritus food chain goes on. So the decomposers, what does they do? What they do with the organic dead materials? So they decompose the dead organic material. Maybe it's the leaf, a single piece of the leaf. So what does the decomposers do? They break down into smaller pieces. Okay. So they secrete digestive enzymes, and that digestive enzymes will act on the dead organic matter like the dead leaves, and then it can be the dead matter can be either plant or animal. Okay. Since they are the organic matter, so they can be plant as well as the animal. So together we can call it as detritus. So decomposers का काम क्या होता है? Break down the dead organic matter into the simpler form, into the simpler inorganic material. Minerals के form में उन्हें convert कर दिया जाएगा to meet their energy and nutrient requirement. Now the energy is further transferred to the detrivores and then to carnivores. So dead organic matter are being eaten by primary detritus feeder, but ये breaking down का process कौन कर रहे हैं? Decomposers. Okay, and then finally the carnivores, they are the secondary detritus feeder. They will use up the primary detritus form. Okay, so in this way a chain follows. Now we can just differentiate between the grazing food chain and detritus food chain. First of all, we should know that the grazing food chain, that is GFC, short में आप बोल सकते हो GFC. Okay, the grazing food chain, it begins or starts with the producers, primary producers, and that primary producers, if we are on land, can be the grasses, trees, but in the aquatic medium, they can be phytoplanktons. And in the grazing food chain only, we see the grass is eaten by the grasshopper. Okay, and the grasshopper is again in return eaten by the frogs. So this is a simple example of this grazing food chain. Okay, so there is only 3 trophic level. पहले trophic level में grasses है, it is eaten by the grasshopper and in return by the frogs. Okay, So next in aquatic medium if we goes, ठीक है, aquatic part में अगर आप चले जाओ, so there are phytoplanktons. So phytoplanktons are eaten by whom? Zooplankton. And zooplanktons are eaten by the fishes in return. So phytoplanktons जो है वो plants होते हैं, they are the plants, and zooplanktons they are the animals, very smaller organisms. Okay, but since the name is zoo, that means animal है और ये plants product है, तो plants again producers से start होना है. So if there is aquatic medium also, aquatic ecosystem, then also the plant will be at the first level. So there are trees are the producers, so they are eaten by the birds. It can also take place in the forest ecosystem में, इस तरह से हम लोग देख सकते हैं grazing food chain. But when we come to detritus food chain, it will start with dead organic matter. So it will start with detritus. So detritus are what? Dead organic matter. Okay, and since the name is organic, it will include both plant and animal. Name organic है तो इसमें plants भी होंगे, animal product भी हो सकता है. Dead animals, dead plants, leaves, all. Okay, so they are heterotrophs, decomposers. यहाँ पे grazing food chain में हमने देखा कि producers was at first level, but here decomposers will break down this dead organic matter into the simpler form. So ये यहाँ पे आप देख रहे हो, it starts with heterotrophs. So heterotrophs are there. Who are heterotrophs? Decomposers. Okay, so dead organic matter, we know dead organic matter are eaten by earthworm. फिर earthworm को कौन खा रहे हैं? Birds. So here we can see it is a detritus food chain. And again another example, the grasses are eaten by deer. Deer in return is eaten by the lion. So in this way there is a connectivity between the grazing food chain and there is a and between the detritus food chain. So एक connectivity है. In isolation ये detritus food chain नहीं चल सकते हैं. Okay. Now we'll see how the interlinked food chain, what they are known as. Interlinked food chain. बहुत सारे food chain अगर interlinked है, okay, so that will form the food web. So in natural ecosystem, one animal do not feed upon a single source. सिर्फ एक single food पे dependent नहीं है. Maybe it is, if it is not getting the food, ठीक है, then in return it will eat some other organisms. So here we can see in the example, in this diagram we can see, first of all grasses. Grasses are eaten by the grasshoppers also. Grasses are eaten by mouse, by rabbit. Okay, sometime the mouse will be eaten by owl. कभी ऐसा भी होगा कि grass will be eaten by mouse will be eaten by owl. So एक ये food chain है यहाँ पे, ठीक है, the first food chain. But it can also happen that the mouse will be eaten by hawk. ये दूसरा food chain हो गया. Again the mouse can also be eaten by the fox. तो the one single, ठीक है, एक ट्रॉपिक लेवल में एक ऑर्गेनिज्म जो है, once it is eaten by owl, sometime hawk भी खा रहा उन्हें, कभी fox भी खा ले रहे उन्हें. So this happens. So this interlinked food chain is known as food web. Example, cockroach, which is omnivores, crows. So these are omnivores and occupy different trophic level in the different food chain. अलग अलग food chain में जाओगे, omnivores है, कभी वो plant पे feed करेंगे, कभी वो dead organisms या animal का flesh ये सब भी खा सकते हैं. Since they are carnivores, तो यहाँ पे one single trophic level, ठीक है, one single organism अलग अलग food chain में different trophic level पे हो सकते हैं present. Okay, so these natural interconnection of the food chain, that is known as food web. Okay, so food web is the feeding relationship among the species within a community. Now food web consists of numbers of food chain. बहुत सारे food chain है, interlinked है, meshed together. We can interlink को आप बोल सकते हैं mess up हो गया, mix up हो गया. One organism is eaten by, and in return बहुत सारे दूसरे organisms भी उन्हें खा ले रहे हैं. So in this way we have to understand कि interlinked food chain को ही food web बोलते हैं. Now comes Lindman's law, that is a 10% law. If you are studying this ecosystem chapter, so you must know what is this 10% law. So the thing is that at the different trophic level, the transfer of the energy take place. Okay, but some of the energy is lost in the form of heat. Okay, so we'll see in a food chain, the amount of energy at different trophic level decreases. ठीक है, decreases at the successive trophic level. जितने आप trophic level में ऊपर जाओगे producers से primary consumer, secondary consumer, ठीक है, और simply producers से आप herbivores, carnivores, upper level पे जैसे जाते हो, there is the energy that decreases at successive trophic level. So there is a transfer of energy, only 10% energy gets transferred to the another trophic level. Okay, like we will take the example of this producer. ठीक है, मान लो यहाँ पे plants है, but what the plants are doing? Plants are taking the solar energy for the process of photosynthesis. So we can see there is total calories of the sunlight, whatever amount of the sunlight is there, fully it is not being used. Only 10% is being used by the producer. ठीक है, अब now what will happen? Few of the process will go on. Metabolic action चलेगा plants में, producers में. Okay, after that the loss of the energy will also take place, and in the final step the primary consumer, that is the herbivore, जो herbs खा रहे, पेड़ पौधों को खा रहे, उनके पास सिर्फ 10% energy जाएगा. ठीक है, 10% of the plant's energy will be transferred to the upper trophic level. Then again from this primary consumer, the another trophic level, the uppermost part में, उसके 10%, that means 10% of the plant energy. अब उसका भी अगर 10% आप निकालो तो 1% of the total plant energy will reach at the secondary consumer level. And when we come to the tertiary consumer level, now whole जितना भी plant इसके, that is 100 kilocalories जो है, इसका भी 10% only, that means total 10 kilocalorie will reach at the topmost level. Okay, that is 0.1% of the plant's energy. ठीक है, so in this way at each trophic level the energy transfer decreases. Okay, so this transfer of energy of 10% only energy transfers from one trophic level to the another. So this is also known as 10% law भी बोल सकते हैं, which was given by whom? One of the person, that is Raymond Lindman. 1942 में इन्होंने ये 10% लॉ दिया था, इसीलिए इसको 10% law or Lindman law we can just come up with. Now each trophic level has certain mass of the living material. ठीक है, all the living material each trophic level पे अगर आप देखो उनका कुछ अपना mass होता है at particular time. ठीक है, at particular time the each trophic level they have certain mass. जितने भी living organism है each trophic level में उसका particular mass जो होगा, that is known as standing crop, the total amount of biomass at each particular trophic level. So this will be the living, ये जितने भी standing crop होगा वो living होगा या biotic part होगा. Okay, now we'll see the organism at the different trophic level shows definite pattern of relationship in the terms of number, biomass and energy. ठीक है, we'll see that in each trophic level biomass किस तरह से increase or decrease करेगा, and the number of the organism will increase or decrease. In this way we'll see the different pyramid. Okay, so the arrangement of this biotic component of the food chain according to their size or metabolic relationship, this is known as trophic structure. Now the pyramidal representation of the trophic level of the different organism based on their ecological position, that means either there is producers at the base level, यहाँ पे producers हो गए, simply primary producer, then primary consumer, secondary consumer, top consumer or tertiary consumer. So the pyramidal representation of the trophic level, okay, so this is at the first trophic level T1, primary consumer trophic level 2, secondary consumer trophic level 3 and tertiary trophic level 4. It will be trophic level 4. So the pyramidal representation of this trophic level of the different organism based on their ecological position, either they are producer or consumer. So producer to final consumer, this is known as ecological pyramid. Now ecological pyramid, if we come to this, it was first proposed by a British ecologist, Charles Elton. Okay, in year 1927, and now it is known with as Eltonian pyramid. So this pyramid जो ecosystem में हम लोग बनाते हैं, ecosystem में pyramid of number, energy, So it was given by the person, the ecologist Charles Elton. So that is why the name is Eltonian pyramid. Okay, now we'll see the different numbers ecological pyramid. So it is, what is this pyramid? क्या है? Graphical representation है, showing how one trophic level is related to the another. ठीक है, एक ट्रॉपिक लेवल दूसरे ट्रॉपिक लेवल से किस तरह से कनेक्टेड है इन द टर्म्स ऑफ नंबर, बायोमास एंड एनर्जी. So the pyramid consists of number of horizontal bars. So we have seen number of horizontal bars are there. पिरामिड में क्या होता है? बार्स होते हैं, हॉरिजॉन्टल बार्स डिपिक्टिंग द स्पेसिफिक ट्रॉपिक लेवल. ट्रॉपिक लेवल 1 इज एट द बेस, ट्रॉपिक लेवल 2 उसके ऊपर, ट्रॉपिक लेवल 3, 4 इन दिस वे. सो ईच बार्स depict the specific tropic level. Now the length of each bar represent the total number of the individual. कितने numbers है individual के? ठीक है, that means कितने number of plant है, कितने number, if we are here, so plants का number कितना है? If we are at the second level, तो herbivores कितने हैं? If we are more above, then carnivores, top carnivores. So in this way, it is the total number of the individual, या तो number को depict करेगा, या तो biomass को show करेगा, or the energy at each tropic level. So this horizontal bar is going to depict different things, biomass, कभी energy, कभी total number of the individuals. So now the producers form at the base. जितने भी producers, जितने भी आप pyramid बनाओ, ecological pyramid, producer will be at the base, okay, or at the first tropic level simply. And the top consumer, tertiary consumer, top consumer, they will be the at apex part. ठीक है, producers base में होंगे और top consumer, top carnivores, they will be at the apex topmost level. So these are the basic things about the ecological pyramid. Now a given organism, कोई एक particular organism can occupy more than one tropic level. Yes, this can happen in the same ecosystem at the same time. For example, sometimes sparrow, ठीक है, take example of the sparrow, a primary consumer, ठीक है, where it will eat seeds, fruits. तो sparrow क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे? It is eating seeds, which is a part of the plant, ठीक है, seeds हो गए, fruits हो गया, peas, तो these are the plant, ये plants हो गए. So it will be eaten by sparrow. तो यहाँ पे sparrow क्या हो गया? Herbivores हो गए, ठीक है. They are the primary consumer. Here the sparrow क्या है? Primary consumer है, और यहाँ पे they are herbivores, acting as herbivores. But in another case, it will act as a secondary consumer. But how? Sometimes grasses are eaten by insect or worms. ठीक है, insects हो गए या worms. Now worms will be eaten by the sparrow in return. So now here they are at the, ये हो गया आपका primary producer, grasses. Insects, they are primary consumer. Okay, sparrow will be secondary consumer. यहाँ पे जो sparrow है वो secondary consumer है, but in the first part here we have seen they are at primary consumer. Okay, so in the different food chain, different ecosystem में, आप same ecosystem में, okay, different food chain में आप देखोगे कि एक organism बहुत अलग अलग position पे भी हो सकते हैं. They can occupy more than one tropic level. So here it is acting as herbivores, primary consumer, but in the another food chain it is acting as secondary consumer. Okay. Now ecological pyramid, we are going to classify this ecological pyramid. So it can be of 3 types: pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass, total amount of mass, and the pyramid of energy. So we see pyramid of energy, energy हमेशा 10% ही pass on होता है. Okay, only 10% of the energy get passed to the successive level. Okay, so it will always be upright. Energy वाला जो pyramid हमेशा upright ही बनेगा. Okay, pyramid of number. So we'll see little bit, mostly they are erect or upright. But here, if biomass का अगर आप देखो, pyramid of biomass. Okay, so sometime we'll study about that it is inverted also. Okay, so here producers, they are preparing the food. प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर आर ईटिंग द प्रोड्यूसर्स, प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर को कौन खा रहा है, सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर, एंड देन टर्शरी. सो फ्यू अमाउंट ऑफ द एनर्जी इज लॉस्ट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ हीट. तो एनर्जी हमेशा fully pass on नहीं होता. There is only 10% of the energy that pass to the another level. So firstly we'll see pyramid of number. What about the pyramid of number? Number किस तरह से increase करते हैं या decrease करते हैं, ठीक है. So pyramid of number represent the total. Since the name is number, so it represent the total number of the individuals of the different species at the different tropic level. Total number of individuals कितने, like here producers. If we are taking the example of this pyramid of number दिखाना है अगर हमें, तो producer are at the base, उसके ऊपर है primary consumer and so on. So producers सबसे ज्यादा है, producers का number ज्यादा है, उसके बाद primary consumer का number little bit less. Okay, so total number of individual of the different species at each tropic level, total number of the individual at each tropic level. हर ट्रॉपिक लेवल में कितने नंबर ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स है, so that is represented by pyramid of number. Okay, so depending upon the size, the pyramid of number can be erect. Okay, so in most ecosystem, ज्यादातर जितने भी ecosystem है इनमें pyramid of number is upright. Okay, and if we take the example of grassland ecosystem or pond ecosystem, okay, so everywhere we can see pond ecosystem में भी आप देखो तो they are upright. But the tree or the forest ecosystem, the pyramid of number is inverted. How it is inverted? क्योंकि since the pyramid we are forming of a tree ecosystem or forest ecosystem, so the tree will be single. एक tree है, एक tree पे अब क्या होंगे, बहुत सारे, ठीक है, birds होंगे, many birds will be there. ये second level पे हो गया T2. So birds will have many parasite on their bodies. एक single bird के ऊपर बहुत सारे large amount में microscopic we can say parasites होंगे, ठीक है, parasites which are at third tropic level, and parasites के ऊपर भी hyper parasites can be there, ठीक है, hyper parasites. So in this way the forest ecosystem, okay, the pyramid of number हमेशा यहाँ पे inverted ही होता है. But tree grassland और pond ecosystem का example लेते हो, okay, so there it is always upright. Now we'll see the pyramid of biomass. Biomass is what? The total living material. ठीक है, जितना living material है उस particular level पे, ठीक है, ट्रॉपिक लेवल पे जितने भी टोटल ऑर्गेनिज्म उनका टोटल बायोमास. So amount of the living material in an organism, that is known as biomass. So pyramid of biomass is determined by collecting all the organism occupying each tropic level. हर particular tropic level like T1 producers, then herbivores, then primary carnivores. So in this way हर tropic level में total organism का जितना भी biomass होगा, ठीक है, collecting all the organism occupying each tropic level separately, हर tropic level का separately counting करना होगा हमें amount of the material and measuring their dry weight. Okay, so this is the pyramid of biomass. So for the most ecosystem ज़्यादातर land हो गया, on land जमीन पे जितने भी ecosystem है, tree, forest, the pyramid of biomass is always upright. Producers eaten by herbivores, herbivores का number producers से कम है. अब herbivores से और कम क्या होंगे, primary carnivores. Top carnivores are much less in number. Okay, so in this way जो pyramid है of biomass on the land or in the forest, it will always be upright. But the case is opposite if we comes to the aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem में हमारे पास जो pyramid of biomass बनेगा वो हमेशा inverted बनेगा. The biomass of the producer is at the maximum. If we take the biomass of the total producers, total plant in the forest ecosystem, so it is too much. ठीक है, 100 it is 1000 kg mass है producers का. Take an example, 1000 kg mass है तो herbivores का 100 है, ठीक है, primary carnivores only 10 kg, then above that only 1 kg. तो mass जो है धीरे धीरे घटता जा रहा है. A maximum कब है? At the base, that is the producer will have the maximum biomass. So biomass of the next trophic level will be definitely less than the previous one. Okay, as we move above, the biomass will decrease. Okay, now, but the case is different in the aquatic ecosystem. So the biomass of the next trophic level हमेशा secondary consumer का less than the primary, हमेशा lower level में क्या होगा, much biomass than the upper level. So the top highermost trophic level has very less amount of the biomass, no doubt. Okay, these points are for forest or land. ठीक है, लैंड इकोसिस्टम के बारे में. बट एक्वेटिक इकोसिस्टम इन्वर्टेड पिरामिड ऑफ बायोमास इट विल शो. हाउ? पहले तो जितने भी, मान लो आप एक एक्वेटिक इकोसिस्टम का एग्जांपल ले लो, सी, ओशन, पॉन्ड. सो देयर आर फाइटोप्लैंक्टन्स एट द बेस. तो ये प्रोड्यूसर्स का काम करेंगे. फाइटोप्लैंक्टन्स विल एक्ट एज अ प्रोड्यूसर. देन इट विल बी टेकन बाय zooplankton. They are mostly microscopic animals. Okay, then it will be eaten by the smaller fish. So when we take the example of this aquatic ecosystem, तो यहाँ पे जो phytoplanktons का नंबर कम होगा, उसके बाद zooplanktons का नंबर थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा. Much more will be the smaller fishes, उनका biomass थोड़ा ज्यादा होगा, और जो small fish के will be eaten by the larger fish, and the biomass of the larger fish will be much more higher. Okay, so in aquatic ecosystem the case is just opposite. The biomass increases as we move in the above at the successive trophic level. At each successive trophic level, the biomass is increasing, but in the land or the forest ecosystem, it was decreasing. So the pyramid of biomass in the sea is generally inverted because the biomass of the fish is much more than this phytoplankton's mass. Okay. Now the pyramid of energy. Energy, no doubt energy हमेशा decrease करता है as we move up. So in an ecosystem, the pyramid of energy क्या दिखाता है? Energy दिखा रहा, that shows the total amount of the energy trapped by the organism at each trophic level in an unit area and time. Now, if we are taking an example of this, if we want to show pyramid of energy, तो producer सबसे base पे है, उसके ऊपर secondary consumer, the primary consumer, then secondary consumer. So in this way, yes, it should be primary. यहाँ पे primary consumer होना चाहिए. Okay, this is primary consumer and this is secondary consumer. Okay, so pyramid of energy in an ecosystem, the pyramid of energy shows the amount of total energy that is passed on at the each trophic level. So energy pyramid हमेशा upright होगा. Okay, always upright in all the ecosystem and can never be inverted. Neither land, forest, aquatic कहीं भी inverted नहीं है. Always upright. So when energy flows from a particular trophic level to the next one, ठीक है, some energy is always lost in the form of heat. ठीक है, at each trophic level. तो first trophic level, if the first trophic level is getting 100%, अगर मान लो producers को sunlight मिल रहा है और energy 100% मिल रहा है, so it will pass only the 10%. Second trophic level को सिर्फ उसका 10% मिलेगा. Third trophic level को उसका 10%, that means only 1%. And after 0.1%. So जितने आप top में जाओगे, energy हमेशा decrease करेगा. That is why we'll get the upright pyramid. Okay, so you can see decreasing number of organism भी decrease करता है और amount of energy will also decrease. Okay, so simple reason क्या है? Loss होता है energy का in the form of heat. So the final conclusion after this ecological pyramid we have discussed separately numbers, pyramid of number, biomass and energy. So इसमें जो you have to observe certain things, that pyramid of energy में always the pyramid will be upright. Okay, all upright and energy always decreases at each successive trophic level. No doubt. ठीक है, always upright. लेकिन pyramid of biomass में एक चीज नोट करना है कि aquatic ecosystem में it is showing inverted. ठीक है, inverted pyramid बन रहा है हमारे पास. Because the number of biomass of the phytoplanktons is less than the larger fishes. Okay, so inverted pyramid will be formed in the pyramid of biomass. And in rest all, forest or grassland ecosystem सब upright होगा. Pyramid of number में क्या है? Forest ecosystem में आप देखोगे inverted pyramid will be formed. क्यों? क्योंकि फॉरेस्ट में एक ट्री है, एक ट्री पे बहुत सारे बर्ड्स है, बहुत सारे बर्ड्स के ऊपर मेनी मोर पैरासाइट्स एंड ऑल. ओके, इन दिस वे इन्वर्टेड फॉरेस्ट इकोसिस्टम में बनेगा पिरामिड. So what is standing crop? The total amount of the biomass that is a living organic matter. ठीक है, at a given tropic level, एक particular tropic level पे जितने amount of total biomass है, that is a standing crop. Okay, so that is the living part. यहाँ पे आप देखोगे जो standing crops होगा वो living organism का होगा. They will be the living. Okay, but the standing state, that is the total amount of minerals at any given time in the soil. So it will have the non-living part. ठीक है, यहाँ पे होंगे नॉन लिविंग कॉम्पोनेंट, नॉन लिविंग पार्ट विल बी इंक्लूडेड इन दिस स्टैंडिंग स्टेट. नाउ वी सी दैट देयर आर सर्टेन लिमिटेशंस ऑफ इकोलॉजिकल पिरामिड आल्सो. इकोलॉजिकल पिरामिड में हमने क्या देखा, दैट दिस पिरामिड डू नॉट टेक इनटू अकाउंट द सेम स्पीशीज बिलोंगिंग टू 2 और मोर ट्रॉपिक लेवल. जो बहुत सारे ट्रॉपिक लेवल पे है तो उसको इट डज नॉट टेक इट. एन इकोलॉजिकल पिरामिड डू नॉट अकोमोडेट अ फूड वेब. वो हमेशा फूड चेन के लिए हम लोग पिरामिड बनाते हैं. ठीक है, as it assume a simple food chain, something that seldom exists. तो simple food chain, लेकिन food chain तो reality में आप देखो जो ecosystem में food chain does not work, food web works, interlink food chain ही काम करता है. So ecological pyramid हम लोग जो बनाते हैं drawn for food chain, but in nature क्या exist करता है, food web. ये थोड़ा limitation ecological pyramid का. Saprophytes जो dead organic पे डेड मटेरियल्स पे फीड करते हैं, दे प्लेज अ वाइटल रोल इन एन इकोसिस्टम. इकोसिस्टम में डिकम्पोजर्स का रोल बहुत है, क्योंकि टॉप ऑर्गेनिज्म, टॉप कार्निवोर्स व्हेन दे डाई दे गेट मिक्स अप एंड डिकम्पोज एंड मिक्स अप टू द सॉइल. तो ये काम डिकम्पोजर्स का है. ठीक है, सैप्रोफाइट्स प्लेज अ वाइटल रोल इन दिस इकोसिस्टम बट दे आर नॉट गिवन एनी प्लेस इन द इकोलॉजिकल पिरामिड. इकोलॉजिकल पिरामिड जो हम लोग स्टार्ट करते हैं वो प्रोड्यूसर्स, then primary consumers, then secondary consumer, in this way we goes on. वहां पे decomposers का या saprophytes का कोई नाम नहीं है. So this is one of the limitations and it can be drawn for GFC, that means grazing food chain के लिए हम लोग पिरामिड बनाते हैं, detritus food chain के लिए नहीं. So that is why ये सारे limitations है, few of the limitations are there of this ecological pyramid. I hope the concept of this whole ecosystem, structure and the function of the ecosystem we have already dealt with, and now the ecological pyramid, energy flow, so we have covered up all. I hope that things are clear to you. Thank you.